Hello guys! Welcome to Sissygram Genderbender Stories on YouTube. Today, I am bringing you a brand new genderbender story. If you like my voice, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for regular updates. Now, let's start the story. Alex stood before the full-length mirror, his fingers slightly trembling as he adjusted the silky blouse his mother had given him. The fabric felt unfamiliar against his skin, but strangely comforting as he smoothed out imagined wrinkles. His mother's voice drifted toward him, warm and approving. "You look beautiful, darling." Alex turned, a shy smile playing on his lips. "You really think so?" His mother, walking across the room, tucked a loose strand of hair behind his ear. "Of course, you have such delicate features. They suit you perfectly." Alex felt a warmth spread in his chest at her words. For years, he had felt like a disappointment to his father. Too soft, too sensitive, not the tough, business-minded son his father expected. But now, with his mother's support, he felt seen, understood. "I've always wondered what it would be like," Alex confessed softly, his gaze returning to the mirror, "to embrace this side of myself." His mother's reflection smiled back at him. "There's nothing wrong with exploring who you truly are. Your father's outdated ideas of masculinity have no place in this house." The mention of his father caused a familiar ache in Alex's heart. His father was seldom home, always absorbed in business, and when he was around, it was often only to criticize. "Do you think he'd hate me if he saw me like this?" Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. His mother's expression hardened. "Your father's opinion doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel. Are you happy embracing this side of yourself?" Alex nodded, surprised by the certainty in his own movement. "Well, then that's all that matters," his mother said, gently squeezing his shoulder. "Now, how about we work on your walk? Those heels won't master themselves." For the next hour, Alex practiced strutting across the living room, his mother offering helpful tips and encouragement. By the end of it, his feet ached, but a sense of accomplishment filled him. "You're a natural," his mother said with pride. "With a little more practice, you'll be turning heads in no time." Alex smiled brightly at the compliment. "I never thought I'd enjoy this so much. I'm finally becoming who I was always meant to be." His mother's eyes sparkled with an emotion Alex couldn't quite place. "I've always known you were special, darling. From the moment you were born, I sensed there was something unique about you." She walked over to the liquor cabinet, pouring 2 glasses of wine, handing one to Alex and raising her glass to new beginnings and self-discovery. They clinked glasses, the crystal ringing softly in the quiet room. As Alex sipped the rich red wine, he felt something shift within him. This wasn't just an experiment or rebellion. It was the beginning of something deeply meaningful. Over the following weeks, Alex's transformation picked up speed. His mother took him shopping, filling his wardrobe with an array of feminine clothes. She also taught him how to apply makeup, guiding his hand as he tried mascara and lipstick for the first time. One evening, as they sat in her luxurious walk-in closet, surrounded by designer gowns and shoes, Alex found the courage to voice a thought that had been swirling in his mind. "Mom," he began, his heart racing, "I think I want to be your daughter, not your son." For a moment, his mother's expression was unreadable, and Alex's stomach dropped. Had he gone too far? Then slowly, a smile spread across her face. "Oh, my darling, I've been waiting for you to say that." Alex blinked in surprise. "You have?" His mother nodded, taking his hands in hers. "I've always known there was a beautiful young woman inside you, just waiting to emerge. I am so proud of you for having the courage to embrace your true self." Tears welled in Alex's eyes. "I was so afraid you'd be disappointed." "Never," his mother said firmly. "You could never disappoint me by being true to yourself. Now, let's start thinking of a name for you." something elegant and feminine. The two spent the evening brainstorming names, trying on different identities, and giggling like schoolgirls. Finally, they settled on Alina. Alina, Alex repeated, savoring the sound. It's perfect. The following months were a whirlwind of change. Alina began hormone therapy, her body slowly aligning with her true identity. Her mother spared no expense, hiring the best coaches money could buy, voice trainers, movement specialists, and even an etiquette instructor to help Alina fully embody her new role as a sophisticated young woman. As Alina's confidence grew, so did her resentment toward her absentee father, who remained oblivious to the transformation occurring under his own roof. Too focused on his work to notice or care, he hadn't seen the changes in his child. One night, as Alina and her mother shared a bottle of champagne to celebrate her first successful outing as a woman, the conversation turned to revenge. "He doesn't deserve to know you," her mother said, her words slightly slurred. "Not the real you, the beautiful, strong woman you've become," Alina smirked. "What if we didn't tell him? What if the next time he comes home, I'm just here, his daughter, not his son?" A wicked grin spread across her mother's face. "Oh, darling, that's deliciously cruel. I love it." The weeks that followed saw Alina throwing herself into her transformation with renewed vigor. She took up ballet, relishing the graceful movements and the way they sculpted her body. Her mother bought her a string of pearls, a family heirloom, to complete her elegant look. After nearly a year of absence, Alina's father was finally coming home for a brief visit. Alina and her mother spent days preparing, carefully crafting the perfect moment of revelation. On the night of his arrival, Alina stood at the top of the grand staircase, heart pounding, wearing a stunning black cocktail dress, her mother's pearls gleaming at her throat. Her hair was long and styled in soft waves, framing her face perfectly. She heard the front door open, followed by her father's booming voice. "Hello, anyone home?" Taking a deep breath, Alina descended the stairs. Her father was standing in the foyer, his back to her, as he set down his briefcase. Her mother caught her eye from across the room, giving her an encouraging nod. "Welcome home, father," Alina said, her voice soft but clear. Her father turned, confusion spreading across his face. "I am sorry, miss. I think you have the wrong house." Alina's mother stepped forward, placing a hand on her husband's arm. "Darling, don't you recognize our daughter?" "It's..." The color drained from her father's face as realization set in. "What is this? Some kind of joke?" he snarled. Alina lifted her chin, meeting his gaze steadily. "No joke, father. This is who I am now. Who I've always been, really." Her father's eyes darted between Alina and her mother, shock quickly turning to anger. "You did this," he spat at his wife. "You turned my son into this freak. The only freak here is you," Alina's mother shot back, her voice icy, "for being too blind to see the beautiful, talented woman your child has become." Alina stepped closer, her heels clicking sharply on the marble floor. "I am not asking for your approval, father. I simply informing you of who I am. If you can't accept that, then maybe it's best you leave permanently." For a moment, it seemed her father might explode with rage, but instead, he deflated like a punctured balloon. He simply shook his head, muttering, "I don't know either of you anymore," before grabbing his briefcase and storming out the door. As the door slammed behind him, Alina felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She turned to her mother, who enveloped her in a tight embrace. "I'm so proud of you, my darling girl," her mother whispered. "You were magnificent." Alina hugged her back, feeling truly free for the first time in her life. "For seeing the real me, even when I couldn't." They pulled apart, both wiping away tears. "Now," her mother said with a mischievous grin, "I think this calls for some celebratory shopping. What do you say we hit Rodeo Drive tomorrow?" Alina laughed, linking her arm through her mother's. I'd say, that sounds perfect. As they walked into the living room, Alina caught sight of their reflection in the mirror. Two elegant, strong women, united in their bond. She smiled, finally at peace with the person staring back at her. The next morning, Alina woke to sunlight streaming through her bedroom windows. For a moment, she lay still, savoring the feeling of soft silk pajamas against her skin. The events of the previous night played through her mind, and she felt a mixture of relief and exhilaration. She padded downstairs, the hardwood cool beneath her bare feet. The house was quiet, but she could smell coffee brewing in the kitchen. She found her mother already dressed in a chic pantsuit, sipping from a steaming mug. "Good morning, darling." Her mother greeted her warmly. "How did you sleep?" Alina poured herself a cup of coffee before answering. "Surprisingly well. I thought I'd be up all night replaying everything in my head, but I slept like a baby." Her mother nodded approvingly. "That's because you did the right thing. You stood up for yourself, for who you truly are. There's no greater peace than that." They sat in companionable silence for a few minutes, each lost in thought. Finally, Alina spoke up. "Do you think he'll ever come back?" Her mother's expression hardened. "If he knows what's good for him, he won't. But if he does, we'll face him together. You're not alone in this, Alina." Alina reached across the table, squeezing her mother's hand. "I know. Thank you." After breakfast, they embarked on their promised shopping spree. Rodeo Drive was a fashion lover's paradise, and Alina found herself overwhelmed by the choices. Her mother, however, was in her element, effortlessly navigating the high-end boutiques. Alina tried on a stunning emerald green dress that hugged her curves perfectly. As she twirled in front of the mirror, she caught sight of her mother's reflection, tears in her eyes. "Mom, what's wrong?" Alina asked, concerned. Her mother shook her head, smiling through her tears. "Nothing wrong, darling. It's just, you look so beautiful." Alina felt her own eyes welling up. "I am happy, happier than I've ever been." They left the store with the green dress and several other pieces, walking down the sun-drenched street, shopping bags in hand. Alina felt a sense of belonging she had never experienced before. "You know," her mother said casually, "I've been thinking, perhaps it's time we made some changes to the house. Redecorate a bit to reflect this new chapter in our lives." Alina's eyes lit up. "Really? That sounds amazing." Her mother nodded, a sly smile playing on her lips. "I was thinking we could start with your father's study, turn it into a proper dressing room for you. What do you think?" The idea of transforming that dark, masculine space into something light and feminine filled Alina with excitement. Over the next few weeks, they threw themselves into the renovation project. The heavy oak desk was replaced with an elegant vanity. Dark leather chairs were swapped for a plush chaise lounge, and the walls, once a somber forest green, were repainted in soft blush pink. As Alina stood in the completed room, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling mirrors and racks of beautiful clothes, she felt a sense of triumph. This space, once a symbol of her father's dominance, was now uniquely hers. Her mother appeared in the doorway, holding a small velvet box. "I have something for you," she said, crossing the room to stand beside Alina. Alina opened the box to find a delicate gold locket nestled inside. Her mother gently fastened it around Alina's neck. "This was my grandmother's," she explained. "She gave it to me when I turned 18, and now I am passing it on to you. It is tradition for the women in our family." Alina fingered the locket, overcome with emotion. "Thank you, Mom. This means so much to me." Her mother smiled, wrapping an arm around Alina's shoulders. "You're my daughter, Alina, inch every way that matters. Never forget that." As summer turned to fall, Alina continued to blossom. She enrolled in dance classes at a prestigious studio, throwing herself into ballet with the same passion she'd once reserved for hiding her true self. Her natural grace and dedication quickly caught the attention of her instructors. One crisp October evening, as Alina stretched at the bar before class, her favorite teacher approached her. "Alina, do you have a moment?" Maya asked. "Of course, Maya. Is everything all right?" The older woman smiled warmly. "More than all right. I wanted to let you know we're holding auditions next month for our winter showcase. I think you should consider trying out for a solo piece." Alina's heart leapt. "Really? You think I am ready?" Maya nodded firmly. "You have a rare talent, my dear. With some extra practice, I believe you could be truly exceptional." That night, Alina could hardly contain her excitement as she shared the news with her mother over dinner. "Oh, darling, that's wonderful," her mother exclaimed. "We must celebrate. How about we invite some of your new friends over this weekend for a little soiree?" The idea both thrilled and terrified Alina. She'd made a few acquaintances at the dance studio, but had been hesitant to form deeper connections. Sensing her daughter's hesitation, her mother reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "Alina, you have nothing to be ashamed of. You're a strong, beautiful young woman. It's time to start living your life fully, without fear." Alina took a deep breath, nodding. "You're right, let's do it." The party was a success. Alina's new friends from the dance studio mingled with some of her mother's colleagues, filling the house with laughter and lively conversation. As Alina moved through the crowd, accepting congratulations and compliments, she felt a newfound confidence settle over her like a warm blanket. Later that night, as she helped her mother clean up, Alina found herself reflecting on how far she'd come. "You know," she said carefully, wrapping a crystal champagne flute in tissue paper, "a year ago, I never could have imagined being this comfortable in my own skin." Her mother paused, looking at Alina with a mixture of pride and something else, something almost wistful. "I always knew you had it in you, darling. From the moment you were born, I sensed there was something special about you." Alina tilted her head, curious. "What do you mean?" Her mother sighed, sinking onto the plush sofa and patting the spot next to her. "I suppose it's time I told you the whole truth." Alina's heart raced. "The whole truth about what? About why I've been so supportive of your transition," her mother began. "You see, when I was pregnant with you, I was convinced I was having a girl. I could feel it in my bones. I spent months planning for a daughter, picking out names, buying tiny dresses. Your father, of course, was certain you'd be a boy. He had your whole life mapped out, what prep school you'd attend, which Ivy League university you'd go to, which company you'd eventually take over." She paused, taking a sip of water before continuing. "When you were born and the doctor announced you were a boy, I felt devastated. Not because I didn't love you. I loved you instantly, fiercely, but because I knew the life your father had planned for you would never truly make you happy." Alina sat in stunned silence, absorbing this revelation. Her mother pressed on. "As you grew, I saw all the signs, your sensitivity, your creativity, your discomfort with the masculine role your father tried to force you into. I wanted so badly to tell you it was okay, that you could be whoever you wanted to be, but I was afraid. Afraid of your father's reaction, afraid of the challenges you'd face in the world." Tears flowed freely down both their cheeks. Her mother squeezed Alina's hands tightly. "When you finally found the courage to embrace your true self, I was overjoyed. Not just because I was getting the daughter I'd always dreamed of, but because I knew you were finally on the path to genuine happiness." Alina threw her arms around her mother, hugging her tightly. "Thank you," she whispered, "for always seeing the real me, even when I couldn't." As they held each other, Alina felt a sense of completeness wash over her. She was Alina, daughter, dancer, woman, and she was finally truly home. This is where the story ends. I spend hours of effort creating these kinds of stories, so if you're new to this channel, please hit the like button and subscribe my Sissygram Genderbender Stories YouTube channel. Also, don't forget to comment on what you would do if you were in his place. I'm eagerly waiting for your comments, and I personally read all of them. Okay, guys, thanks for joining. And I'll see you in the next story in the next video. Take care and bye.